You are listening to the Love Unplugged podcast, episode 15. Today's episode is a little bit different than what I've been doing so far. I'm having a friend of mine interview me where I'm going to answer questions all about my schedule, how I came to the realization that I needed to take better care of myself, everything that I've experienced in that journey, what I've learned throughout the last 7 years, and where I am today, and what I hope this podcast is going to be for others. So I hope you enjoy getting a little peek inside my personal life, and everything that I've learned through my journey. So let's get to it. You are listening to Love Unplugged, a podcast focused on love in all its forms. I'm your host, Jessica Frigon, hopeful romantic and founder of Revue Blanc. I've found that too often love is set aside or taken for granted, and we tend to forget how to care for ourselves and our relationships in the day-to-day chaos. So let's slow down, tune in, and begin our journey of rediscovering love. From honest heart-to-heart conversations with real couples and knowledgeable guests, to deep dive reviews of new products and services that will help you feel beautiful inside and out. If you're looking for relatable advice or wanting to be inspired by real-life love stories, you've come to the right place. Without further ado, let's get to it. Hi, everybody. So today's episode is a little bit of a change up. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to have my friend interview me. So it's going to be Laura asking me questions about my journey to self-care and kind of what that looks like and how it evolved. So I'm just going to let her take the floor here and ask away because she probably knows me best and knows kind of what to get out of me so that you guys learn more about my story.
I'm so excited to be here and I can't wait to ask you more about this because I know how important it is to you and you really helped me see how I can make changes to put myself more of a priority. So let's just dive right in. What exactly led you to realizing that you needed a change in your life?
Okay, well, to set a little bit of more context around so you guys understand where I was and basically where I still am until hopefully this fall, is my schedule for work is absolutely insane. So I get up at 6:30 in the morning. I go straight to work from 7:30 all the way till 4:30. I come home for about an hour and a half. And usually that consists of, going to the bathroom, taking a nap for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I go back to work for 7:30 all the way till about 11:30. So I don't get home till maybe 12 o'clock.
And I don't know how you do it and function the way you do every day.
I don't know either. So this has been going on for about, more than 5 years now. I would probably say closer to 7.
That's crazy.
And it's 5 days a week. So I get my weekends off.
But you don't, with that kind of schedule, can you take any extended holidays?
No. No.
When was your last holiday?
My actual,
more
getaway?
More than 4 days off away, out of town.
Honestly, since I was 28 and I'm 36 now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's been insane. I'm not going to lie. I kind of brush it off quite a bit just because.
And you never complain. Nobody would know that this is going on. They're like, oh, she's high functioning. She gets a lot done in a day. And
well, internally, I'm yelling at people. But I guess on the outside, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right? You kind of have to accept to a certain point what you have to do.
But you're not even mentioning this podcast and everything else. So
that's just my other jobs, right? So I have my regular 9 to 5 that I do. I'm an operations manager. I was a project manager as well before. And then the night job is just a random oddity job that I do for my family to help support them. But I also have this blog and now this podcast. So that's kind of my third job that I try to fit in. This sounds really bad.
Is it scary when you admit it out loud?
Yeah, I try not to talk about it too much. So I try to fit in the blog and the podcast on my Fridays off because I get every second Friday off from my day job. And then anywhere I can fit it in on my weekend, which usually falls on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday evening. And maybe a little bit if I'm not too tired after my day job during the week.
Wow.
So, it's definitely a balancing act.
Yeah.
For sure.
And like what happens if you get sick?
I still go to work.
Yeah.
I don't have, my day job, I can take the time off if I need to, but with the night job, because it's contractor type job, I actually can't take any time off. So I haven't missed a night, even though I may have been sick. There was actually this one time, and I always refer back to it because it's something I'm kind of like proud of, but slightly ashamed of, because I was throwing up as I was working. Which I think, that's...
And that wasn't the moment when you realized you needed a change?
That wasn't the moment, no. But that was definitely interesting. It was not fun. I definitely did not enjoy that night because it was constantly going back to the bathroom, throwing up, then going back to work.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun.
I can't believe that.
Nobody can say I'm not a hard worker.
No, they cannot.
No, they cannot.
Okay, so your schedule, 5+ years, almost 7, you've been operating like this. And was there any one instant where everything just went sideways one day and you had a meltdown, or was it kind of cumulative?
I think it just slightly came to a point where it just accumulated for so long. And, I'm not thrilled about, this is not something that I chose to do, obviously. Family comes first, and I needed to be there for my family. So that's why I took the job. So that's why I don't really complain about the night job and having to always work every evening and whatnot, because I'm doing it for my... Well, I try not to. there are moments where I'm like, but overall, it's for my family. So I'm doing it for them. And you know what? I'm okay with that as much as I hate it, because it's for my family. So, definitely there are moments where I struggle with it, and it makes me very upset that I have to do this for them. And I have kind of no choice in the matter up until hopefully this fall. But it definitely started getting to me after, I would say, about 5 years. It took a long time.
That's amazing.
Responsibilities at work for my day job started increasing. So that's become a lot more stressful. And then, just trying to have a social life is pretty tough. Especially kind of getting to that point where I'm always like, I'm in my 30s. I'm kind of wasting my 30s away, like my young time, I guess, to be out and like traveling and having fun and kind of living life and maybe like meeting someone and getting married and all that stuff. And I have zero time for that, which kind of sucked. So that kind of added to the exhaustion that I was starting to develop over time. And
I guess any spare time you have, it's like, what are the absolute necessary things I have to do?
Exactly.
And then when can I sleep?
It's like survival mode, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing that kind of a schedule, everything else goes.
Yeah.
Right. So there came a point where I realized that I was like, okay, so I'm not really brushing my teeth very much anymore. I'm doing it in the mornings because that's a public service that I'm doing for other people. But I'm exhausted. So I'm like really making an effort here. I'll shower, but I could be doing a better job there. I'm not going to shave because really that's a lot of effort. I spend a lot of my time sleeping. My eating habits, even though I love food and I've never had an issue like not eating.
Right.
But the quality of the foods obviously weren't there.
It's not like you get to sit down and enjoy a meal.
Exactly. I'm more like scarfing it down because I'm running from one thing to another constantly. Which isn't good. And I don't think I was getting the proper nutrients as well. And, my diet wasn't very good because I was incorporating, dairy products and like gluten stuff. And I knew that I wasn't feeling great with it. But, when you're kind of
Scarfing?
No, when you're like, you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's easiest to grab a sandwich or to like something like that, like a yogurt or like
bar,
make an egg or a granola bar or something like that. It's super easy to just grab and go versus making, grilled vegetables and like a steak or like salmon or rice and stuff, which takes time to cook because you're actually cooking real food.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't the best diet. So that definitely added to the toll of everything else. And I definitely felt like my health was diminishing. I was losing, hair because I wasn't getting the proper nutrients. I was exhausted all the time. I know I was like lacking in a lot of vitamins and, even just taking vitamins, that was exhausting to me. Like,
yeah.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah. So it's not only your mental, emotional health, it's your physical health is now taking a toll.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that was kind of the physical toll? Did that take longer to catch up to you? Was it anything was it the mental aspect or?
I think the physical hit me first.
Okay.
Just because nutrition is very important. So that was the first thing that I kind of focused on immediately.
Yeah.
So just figuring out that what foods were really bothering me. So I go to a naturopath. I'm not really into going to an actual doctor. I see a naturopathic physician who can prescribe medication if I need to, but we choose to go the natural route. So getting all of the vitamins that I need, cutting back on as much gluten or grains as possible, and then cutting out dairy, which I thought was going to be the hardest thing ever because I love cheese. I'm French. Come on. It runs in my blood. And I love, I used to love milk. I could drink a whole glass of milk.
No way.
It was just so refreshing, right? I don't know why. But now the thought of drinking a glass of milk makes me want to throw up.
Yeah.
It just grosses me out. But even just the taste of it, I'm just I prefer my almond milk now, which is actually kind of funny because I grew up in a household where everything was organic. We never had any treats in the house.
Yeah.
We didn't have any milk in the house. And when we did get a treat, it was the whole wheat Cheerios.
Oh, wow.
That was a treat for us. So
oh my God.
I was really surprised that I hated almond milk up until that point. And then when I started trying a whole bunch of brands, I found Califia, which was the brand that I actually really like.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so changing my diet was the first thing that I focused on because I needed to be physically fit in order to keep up with that schedule.
When did you start those changes?
I would probably say about 4 years ago, I would say. Yeah.
So quite a while.
3 years in to that period. So I mean, that helped to a certain point. But then came the whole mental and emotional part of it, where I was just so tired and, trying to have a social life. I'd be out with some friends and honestly, I just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
I wanted to be home, just resting. I'm very introverted, and I'll be extroverted when I need to be, but I always need that time just by myself.
Yeah.
To balance out
which you
being
hadn't
with
been
people.
getting for
No,
years.
Exactly. So that was kind of tough because I was I should be out enjoying life with friends and going out and blah, blah. I used to do that all the time, but now I don't want to do it anymore because I just want to be my one day off. I want to just rest by myself.
Yeah.
So that was kind of tough because some of my friends would be why are you wanting to go home? You're always saying no, or you're always canceling and getting upset with me, or having these snide comments about me bailing out when, you have no idea what's going on internally on my side. And I need to do that for me.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have to get through, you have that a couple days on the weekend, which you're still going to be busy because whatever you didn't get to in the week, I'm assuming you're getting to on the weekend. And then it's mentally preparing for Monday, which probably it's the Sunday scaries, right?
You're dreading it.
Here's the end of my weekend and this is what's coming. And
it's not
stressful.
Fun. Exactly. And then I remember this one point, I was on a phone call with my mom, and I think this was kind of the height of the whole burnout.
Okay.
And I just totally lost it with her, and not lost it at her, but just lost it completely, saying, I have all these things that I'm responsible for and I'm doing none of them well.
Yeah.
So on my personal side, I'm not taking care of myself the way that I should be. I'm not there for my friends the way that I should be. I'm doing this night job where honestly, I will cut corners where I need to cut corners because I'm tired. And I'm not doing it the best that I can. I do have very high standards for the work that I put in.
Do you think you're a bit of a perfectionist?
Of course. And I think that anybody that knows me will probably be
I just wanted to see if you would admit it.
Yes, I am a perfectionist, and it's something I'm working on daily. So that coming into play, knowing that I'm not doing my best in any of the areas that I was like in life kind of really sucked.
Yeah.
It definitely took a toll emotionally. My day job, like I knew I could be doing so much more, and I was comparing myself to others, and I was like,
Right.
you know, they're able to do it and they've accomplished so much more and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm doing a great job. Like my performances were like stellar, which is great. But to me, I wasn't doing what I knew I was capable of doing.
Yeah.
And then the blog was, I think, the tipping point in all of that. I think I was a little starry-eyed or maybe naive when I came into the whole blogging world, not fully understanding how much work is actually involved in starting a blog and then actually maintaining it weekly to even start
let's
growing.
Call it what it was. You were trying to start a business. You know, it's not just a blog. You were trying to start a business on top of a day job, on top of a night job.
Yeah, it's not smart, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's ambitious.
I had big goals.
Yeah.
So I was seeing all these people. I mean, social media is great, but I'm sure everybody who's listening to this knows about the comparison game, and somebody who's a perfectionist seeing what everybody else is accomplishing and knowing that you can do that too if you had the time, but you don't have the luxury of the time because you're stuck doing these other two jobs, and other people don't have that crazy schedule always.
Yeah.
So they're able to put in more time than
Yeah.
you can to achieve those goals. So then that kind of made me feel even shittier, to be honest, because I was like, I don't even have like a choice. Like I can't do anything about it. I'm kind of just stuck.
Yeah.
Right. And coming to the realization that you're stuck is the worst.
So this was back with that phone call with your mom where you kind of just
I just lost it. And I'm like, I just like told her every area that I'm like not doing what I could be doing in that area. I'm like, I'm not doing 100% in anything. Like I'm not doing anything like well, like really well, the way that I think I should.
To your standards.
Yeah, to my standards. I'm sure I'm getting by.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously. But yeah, that was really kind of the point that kind of hit everything on the head.
So how did you feel during that time? Did you feel like a victim, or did you feel like hopeless, or did it make you more determined to make a change? What was going through your head?
I think it was a roller coaster of emotions, really. I mean, at first it was anger, and I still have a lot of that, like resentment that I'm stuck in the situation and feeling stuck and I can't figure out a way out. And, you know, I'm stuck helping my family, and that kind of, as much as you want to help your family, you're kind of like a little bit annoyed that you can't live your life because you're stuck helping them. And then the whole, like, then you get into the sadness, and then you get into like, okay, you know what? I need to step out of this and I need to like do something about it. Right. So it was definitely a roller coaster of different emotions.
Yeah. Wow. I couldn't even imagine. So how did that affect your relationships? Like you're a little bit angry that you're supporting your family. Did that affect how you were with them? What about your personal relationships?
I mean, it did on an inside level, I guess, because I mean, I didn't want to take it out on them. It's not their fault, right? They didn't do anything wrong. It's just circumstances. And it's not, I mean, it was health concerns, right? So obviously you're not going to want to add to those concerns for no reason. So I think I tried my best to be there, but I definitely, I think I still am kind of withdrawn to a certain point, just because I needed to be for me, which did affect our relationships a little bit. I know it affected the one that I have with my mom, because we used to do a lot more together, and now we don't so much. Right. Just because of the circumstances, I kind of need to set some boundaries a little bit for me. Yeah. So setting those boundaries has definitely been a challenge in learning, you know, to say no, being okay saying no. And then just if they're upset by it, that's fine. But you have to kind of do what's right for you, I guess. And then being okay saying no with friends as well. That was tough. that was definitely a tough one, but I think I'm totally okay with it now. Like, I'm more than happy to be like, no, I'm good. Yeah. Thanks.
And you know what you need to do for you to function and, operate at a higher level. Like, if a late night out is going to cause you all sorts of trouble the next day and the day after that, then maybe it's not always worth it. Even though you do probably want to.
Yeah, I do want to go. I do want to spend time with them and stuff. But at this point where I'm at, I have to look out for my well-being first, because then what good am I to anybody else?
Yeah.
Right. So
what did you do? Learning to say no is hard. What else did you do to kind of find more balance or feel more okay or in control of your life?
I mean, there's lots of things that I started to do. So I started reading or listening to a lot of Audible books to kind of help me figure some stuff out. I would listen to podcasts. I would read actual books as well. But really, I think the main thing that kind of helped me is just being really self-aware and kind of listening to my body and what I need, and not just pushing myself to the max all the time. So it's kind of this one book that I read by Emily Fletcher. I think it's Emily Fletcher. And it was Stress Less, Accomplish More. And it's about meditation. That kind of helped me get onto the whole meditation thing. So I started doing that. And then I kind of check in with my body every day to see how I'm feeling. If there is anxiety or I'm feeling stressed, or like I can feel it in my head that I'm just like really exhausted. I try to kind of figure out, where I'm at and then what I need to kind of reset from that. So
it's amazing how important or how much of a difference you can see when you start to take care of the more physical aspects of your health. And I think for whatever reason, it's often the last thing to be taken care of. But obviously, if you're tired, if you're not eating well, or you're not exercising, that's going to affect so much more, your mental health, how you feel emotionally. It's just.
Diet is huge.
Yeah.
Like when I started fixing my diet, I kind of figured out that it was affecting my moods.
Yeah.
It was giving me headaches. The exhaustion was kind of a portion of my diet. It was kind of being, what's that word? It was more exhaustion than I was actually supposed to feel because I wasn't eating properly and it wasn't working with my body the way that it should have. I think that diet was the very first thing. Then learning to be self-aware and know what your body needs to regroup. And then learning to set boundaries, being okay saying no when you need to, and not feeling guilty about it is huge, because that guilt can definitely have an effect on your physical. I feel like all the negative emotions have effects on your physical.
Absolutely.
Which you need to like just shut down completely, because if there's already like an exhaustive type of schedule, you don't need additional exhaustion added to that.
The negativity just drains you.
It does.
It doesn't really accomplish anything.
No.
Like, when does it ever get you ahead or get you feeling better?
It doesn't. It just makes it makes everything worse, to be honest.
Yeah.
So those were kind of the things that I really focused on the most. And then the reading of the books and the podcasts, and, learning from other people as well and talking to them. I remember going to a therapist or a counselor. She was a counselor, yes, to talk about it, because I needed someone that was completely unbiased, that wouldn't judge, that wouldn't try to interject their kind of thoughts or like their advice and whatnot. I just needed to vent and to just let it all out. So I thought that was really helpful emotionally as well, to just let it. And it felt like a huge weight was off my shoulders.
Were you exhausted after the session?
It was emotionally draining. But I love it.
I've heard so many of my friends, and I haven't done it personally, but I think about it. My friends who have gone, they first of all recommend it wholeheartedly every time. And they say that after, you're just zapped, like drained.
It takes a lot out of you because you're holding all this stuff in.
Yeah.
And then when you're able to release it, it's like the toxins are being released from your body type thing, right?
Wow.
So, I mean, my counselor always like recommended that I go for a walk, right? So it was close to a beach. So I would go for a walk and just kind of breathe in a little bit before I would drive, just because she was always like worried. Like
it would be so jarring to go from that therapeutic experience and then jump right back into like, okay, now it's night job time.
Oh God.
Breathe for a minute.
A little bit, yeah. But that definitely helped, speaking to someone.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, I did speak to friends and all that stuff, but them always interjecting their advice and like kind of not letting me speak completely. I felt very kind of stifled a little bit, especially with family. If I would talk to them about it, that was just a no-go situation. It's too close to home, I felt. So that really helped. The counseling sessions, definitely with those other 4 items.
But the books one is interesting to me too. I forget where I read this or heard this, but it was talking about how, the ROI you get for spending $10, $12 on a book, and you're getting somebody who's had 40 years or whatever, their expertise, and it's crammed into this one book that you spend $10, $12 on, and it's 40 years of their knowledge. I mean, you can't beat that.
No, you can't.
Yeah. And it's so cool how much is available now, podcasts, books.
There's
Audible.
so much. There's no excuse anymore, really. You'll find something to help you get out of whatever situation you're in some way, I feel.
Yeah.
The one book that I really liked was Own the Day by Aubrey Marcus.
I haven't read that.
It's so good. So it's all about optimizing your life.
Yeah.
So that you're getting the most out of everything, your body and like all that stuff. But it was just such a good, like listening, experience. There you go. At night. Well, I mean, at night I can listen to books constantly, like audiobooks, which is great. But his was probably the best that I've listened to.
What were the biggest takeaways from it?
He has so much insight. And it was just kind of like light bulb moments throughout the entire book of, how I could be like doing things better, and taking better care of myself and whatnot. But yeah, that was a really good book. There was another one, The Power of Habit, that I really liked by Charles Duhigg. I think it's Duhigg.
Oh yeah, I think I read that one.
That one, just because I'm very habit type person, it's very hard for me to break habits as well. So learning kind of all about habits and creating the right habits and all that stuff, and kind of stopping the habits that are kind of detrimental to my health and stuff. That was a good learning curve as well for me. That helped me kind of open my eyes as to what I needed to stop doing. Yeah. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was.
Yeah. What's one habit you've worked to break to help you out? I guess your diet is a big one.
I still struggle with the diet.
Yeah.
I do like bread once in a while, but I know I'm going to pay for it later on. And ice cream kind of gets me sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Coffee flavored ice cream, please. Coffee is a big one. I love my coffee, but I know that it takes a huge toll on my adrenal glands, which then exhausts me even more.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to cut that out so that the vitamins that I'm taking for adrenal glands and whatnot are working properly, and I'm not setting them back. But yeah, so that's kind of what I focused on the most. And then I really just kind of learned on focusing on the positive. So my mom, I learned from her a long time ago, but I think when you're young or when you're in your teens, you think you know best, and you're like, you don't want to listen to anything that your parents say. And you're like, oh, I know better. And whatever, I'm not going to listen to that. But she's always told me to focus on the positive, make your list of what you're thankful for. So journaling is huge now. Yeah. Right.
Your mom was ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Well, she should be. She's like 77. So yeah, I started to kind of write down all the things that I've been thankful for.
Yeah.
At least I try every couple days, because again, I can't commit to something every day. But to focus on that and not let everything else come into my head kind of helps a lot.
Yeah. You can really train your brain when the negativity comes in. How can you flip this negative thought into a positive? And that's something that I've been trying to do, and it's not easy, that's for sure. It's really easy when you're tired and exhausted and you've had a bad day to just vent or rant. But, these little tweaks every now and then when you're just thinking the world's against you or, oh, something else has gone wrong. What are you learning from it? How can you flip it? And it makes a huge difference. It really does.
I've always been told that, things don't just like happen to you. They're coming into your life to show you something, to reflect something to yourself that you need to learn.
Yeah.
Right. And then the whole law of attraction, I probably wouldn't be who I am today or where I am today if those things haven't happened.
Like if you compared what you know today and what you prioritize today versus 10 years ago, how different is it?
It's completely different.
Yeah.
I'm a completely different person. I don't think the person from 10 years ago would have dropped everything for her family and put her life on hold for them, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I would be doing this blog or podcast. I would be out socializing, and like my focus has changed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that I would be so self-aware to take better care of myself as well. I would kind of just let it go downstream.
Yeah. It's incredible to think about how different you could have, you were and who you are today, and why you are the way you are today is partly because of all those challenges that you faced.
Yeah. I would think
partly,
so.
I don't know, you also have a lot of your own, personality traits that helped you rise through all this, right?
I definitely think compassion was probably the strongest thing that's changed in me. Definitely. Just from that experience with my family and having to be there for them.
Yeah.
And putting other people first has definitely been something that's changed.
You did that for a long time though. And then you had to make a shift to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
And did you feel like you were being selfish at the time?
Yeah. Well, of
guilty?
course.
Yeah.
Guilty. You feel guilt for having to kind of say no and to put people in their place and to set boundaries. And especially being a people pleaser, you're kind of wanting to do things for a lot of people. And that's kind of what I became, was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that was challenging to change. And I definitely felt a lot of guilt because people had those expectations of me.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was.
You always said yes before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of guilt, but really, what good am I to them if I'm no longer here?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if I let it get to that point where I'm going to be hospitalized, or I'm just not going to be able to be there to support them because I just can't even take care of myself.
Yeah.
So I definitely don't think that taking care of yourself is selfish. I think it's selfless, to be honest.
Oh, for sure.
I think it should come first. Just like when you're in an airplane, and they tell you to put your mask on first and then put the mask on your kids or your whoever you're with that you would need to support. You need to take care of yourself before you take care of anybody else.
Yeah. And so then when those times come up where you can say yes to people to help them or hang out or whatever it is, you're giving them your better version of you rather than this zombie girl who is dead on her feet and just there because she feels obligated to be there.
Exactly. It's better for everybody in those situations because I definitely feel like the energy can probably be felt.
Yeah.
If I'm in that negative state where I'm feeling resentful that I have to be there, or feeling obligated, or I just don't want to be there, you can probably feel it or sense it, which is probably not enjoyable from the other person's perspective. So I definitely feel that that's definitely better.
So then what would you say now you're on this path of being more self-aware and making sure you're taking care of yourself first? And you've made a lot of really impressive strides because your schedule still hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't.
So it still kind of blows my mind that you're able to focus on your own self-development and improving your life with everything else going on. Do you have like your goals for building off what you've already accomplished for yourself and getting that balance, or like?
Well, right now I have kind of an end goal for the night job, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to give me time to be more at home.
That'll be life-changing.
People don't realize how lucky they are to have evenings off until you lose them. To be honest, anytime that there's like a holiday on a weekday, I'm like, hallelujah, I get to be home on a weekday.
Meanwhile, everyone's like, I hate these midweek holidays.
Exactly. I'm like, thank goodness. What was the question?
I guess, what are you like?
Oh, what am I doing?
Yeah. What are your next goals for yourself? Gotcha. Maybe your own personal growth or continuing on this self-care path.
So hopefully the night job ends this fall. So
fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. Fingers, toes, my eyes, anything I can cross, I'm crossing. So that is the goal. And then obviously, making sure that I take, every second weeknight off, making sure that I'm taking time for myself and my family. And then I'm planning on making a list. I've always heard this is make a list of all your priorities. What's the most important thing for you in your life? And then you schedule those things first, and then everything else can fill around it.
Okay.
So it's just really being more strategic with my schedule.
Sort of like the concept of rocks versus pebbles. So you have your rocks, which are your big goals that help drive you towards your ultimate goal. Mm-hmm. And then you have these pebbles that take up all the little tasks that you have in a day, responding to emails, answering texts. They really distract from those rocks, which are the key drivers towards your big goal. And if you have a bucket and you have a bag of pebbles and you have a bunch of rocks and you need to fit them all in this bucket, if you start with the pebbles, you won't fit the rocks in. No. If you put the rocks in first and you sprinkle the pebbles and they fill up all, the cracks and the crevices, then you can get it done. But that's kind of what I envision when you say writing down your main priorities or your top goals, because if you're not focused on driving towards those, you get so distracted by all the little bits and pieces.
Exactly. And somebody actually
said that. There's a YouTube video and it just really, I forget who it was, and it's really corny and cheesy. I think it's from the 80s, but it clicked in my brain.
I had somebody do it like on a stage in front of me, but using sand.
Yeah.
Right. So they put in like the rocks or whatever into this glass jar, and then they fill the rest in with sand, which struck a chord for me.
I think we've all heard this lesson from someone in some way, shape, or form, but for whatever reason, it takes a while to click, or you maybe are more ready to receive that information and you can relate to it more. But
yeah, I feel like you can hear the same message all your life.
Yeah.
But it has to be at the right time for you,
right place
to receive that message, for you to finally get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's so true.
So
it's like when all these people who get told by their doctors, you need to change your diet, you need to change your diet. And then they have a health scare. And then
it happens, right? It's funny how that happens.
Yeah.
So making that list of what my priorities are, and making sure I stick to those, and then I'll sprinkle in wherever I need to. But I think the goal is not to replace all that free time with more work.
Yeah. Like hopefully you can go plan a trip or something. I would really like that really for nice. You.
Trip to Europe would be really great. Somewhere to relax.
I can't wait for the fall for you. That's just...
It'll be December probably. So
no.
It'll be all like snowy, hopefully.
Yeah.
Give me some snow.
Yeah, that's kind of nice around Christmas time. Free time. Oh. Yeah. I'm just dreaming of it now.
We're still in summer. Let's enjoy the summer.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So yeah, I plan to do that, and then just getting a little bit more laser focused with the podcast and the blog. But again, being very strategic with what I choose to accomplish, so that I'm not just taking on the world and then getting myself into the same place that I've been in the last number of years.
Find what you do really well, what comes naturally to you, and what you like. And I think if you focus on that, then you'll be, happier, and I think have more success.
Exactly.
It's not forced. It's not, you won't be spread so thin.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's been a busy 7 years. It's been a busy 7 years.
Yeah.
Lots of learnings. Definitely.
But even though it was a really, really hard 7 years, you were still able to recognize when you were kind of on the edge and figure out what you could do given your circumstances to make things better. And it wasn't like a poor me, I don't have time for myself. I can't, I don't have money for this, or I don't have time for that. It was, these are my circumstances, and this is what I can control and change, that's awesome. Good for you. You should be very proud.
There are moments. Yeah. So that's kind of what I've learned.
Wow.
Throughout the last 7 years, and kind of what's taken me to where I am with the blog now, which has kind of evolved through this journey as well. It was kind of more wedding focused at the beginning, which was great because I love weddings and I was a wedding planner and whatnot. But now, just with my experiences and everything that I've learned, having it change with the podcast to be more focused on, taking care of yourself, especially when life gets busy and life throws you curveballs, and not losing sight of that and putting the focus more on your self-care, self-love, on all levels, taking care of your relationships. So not losing sight of those because, they are important.
Yeah.
Those people are there for a reason and they're there to support you. So not losing sight of that and learning from other people's examples, just like hopefully maybe somebody's learned from my example today.
Well, you have a lot to offer people in that whole area because you've lived a lot of this. And now, you're seeking out all these other people who have different expertise in other areas, and it all combines. And it's like this great package of resources. When you just think you can't get through, or you don't know how you're going to get to the next week or the next month, and you're struggling with this one thing, and we're all struggling with the same things. Maybe we don't always talk about them. So it's just so nice that you can come to this podcast or to your blog and pick something that really speaks to you in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm not the only one to experience this. I've heard it from many people that have been maybe not in the exact same circumstances as me, but they're experiencing similar things. So I think we all kind of get to a very level of burnout or exhaustion, or, not taking care of yourself and maybe not nurturing your relationships the way that you should.
Yeah.
So I think
and then something clicks and you realize you need to make a change.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully this podcast and the blog will be there to kind of help people through that and help them feel like they're not alone. Other people are experiencing as well, and we can kind of all learn from each other. Yeah. Which is really all you can ask for.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
We're all here together. We're all here to help each other.
I know. And I love that people are, you're putting out something that's meant to help others. It's not just there for the sake of being there and its content. It's got a purpose, and it will speak to somebody, right? And like you said, it's the right message at the right time that you need to hear where things click.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed this.
All right. Well, thank you so much for getting into my personal life.
Anytime. I'm happy to.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Jessica, and thanks for tuning in today to Love Unplugged, the podcast. If there are any questions or topics you'd love answered on the show, head on over to revueblanc.com and share your request with me. If you haven't yet, go to iTunes and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast and share it with a loved one. Your feedback means the world to me, and the community we've created is what fuels our discussions here. After all, this is all for you. Join me next time for another Unplugged conversation.